25th, right here on Jocks. Thanks for tuning in with us. We appreciate that always, and we always appreciate the Coach Wimp Sanderson joining us, and he does it every week thanks to our friends at Coke and Piggly Wiggly. Welcome in, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing okay. If the answer for Georgia is to get to Alabama's quarterback, and if for some reason they're blocked pretty well, Alabama's offensive line does a little bit better job than in the past. Could Ty not burn them some? Could he not burn them a little bit, or am I going up the wrong road? He throws the ball. He throws the ball in everybody's hand, perfect. Not everybody's hand, but in his receiver's hands, about as good as anybody I've seen in a good while.
I need a little more clarification where you're going with this.
Well, if Georgia rushes the way Oklahoma rushed Auburn, okay, if Georgia went after the football the way went after quarterback the way Oklahoma went after Auburn. Could Alabama burn them? Is that possible? If they're blocked by Alabama, is that
absolutely? Yeah, Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, they have the weapons to be able to do that. I don't think there's any doubt. You got to block it though. That's the hard part that was maybe oversimplified there.
Well, that's the reason I asked you, because you're the blocker, and I just didn't know if they were, if the offensive line of Alabama is aware of how, by looking a little bit at Oklahoma and Auburn, they got to Auburn pretty good. Of course, it was a bad call in that game, no doubt about that. But,
I may adopt that as my new nickname, Coach, the blocker, if you don't mind.
Okay. I don't know what Greg thinks about. I think getting to the quarterback at Alabama is I would think, a big key for Georgia. I think.
Well, I think Ty the last couple of weeks has been super decisive. Like, he's gotten the ball out, he's playing on time, he's anticipating throws. Perfect world, even if they win in their pass rush, ball's out. And I think that's big. Ty week 1, little more hesitant, didn't trust it as much. So as a result, the pass rush got home. And I thought he battled. I thought he did enough. I didn't think the receivers played particularly well in that game, with the exception of Jeremy Bernard. So I do think that Ty is playing much more confidently right now. I'm sure after the bye week, he's probably even more in line with what those guys are doing and with where those receivers are going to be. So I think it's a good time for Ty to kind of showcase his progress in this game. I think it's very, very important, and I think he's got a chance to do that. But the pass rush shouldn't be a factor if he's as decisive as he's played the last 2 weeks.
Well, you get rumors, or you get fans on my show and so forth, Alabama can't win on the road, based on Oklahoma and Vanderbilt games last year.
They also whipped LSU on the road, though. I think people I think the bad has been bad for sure on the road the last 2 years. Yeah. 15 penalties at Tennessee last year. Throwing a pick in the end zone last year. There's been some bad moments, but I think saying, quote, can't isn't fair, because I do think that this team can. It's just they can't beat themselves before things get going.
Well, I think if something were to happen that Georgia wins them in a close one, that Alabama plays well, I think I think Alabama needs to play well. Of course, you always need to play well. That's a stupid statement, I guess, but I think for their psyche they do, because they're coming back and playing. You have to be careful in the minds of some of your kids in Vanderbilt. In the past years, it's been bad team, but now it's bad name, good team. When you come back to Vanderbilt and play Vanderbilt at home, and although your kids will know that Vanderbilt's improved, and it'll help a great deal, plus beating them last year. So I think psychologically, as I always talk about it on this show, is big, and And I just think that you got to block them. And I think Georgia also has been able to play with not a big name quarterback, but a guy who plays well. I think that's that's one thing that they have been able to do. Kirby's done a good job with his team. Do you compare Georgia and Clemson in a way that both of them, with their coaching staffs, try to talk down the money a little bit? Now I know Georgia's got more, probably doing more probably, but they try to come in there with caring about each other. Whether that in now everybody's on Dabo standing. And so I asked somebody on our show today, how do you compare Alabama to Clemson, and how do you compare Alabama to Georgia? Clemson is you can go south sometimes in a game. I'm doing too much talking, but you can go south in a game like Clemson has, and got beaten in the last play of the game a couple of times. And Georgia, but both of those schools are a little bit more into not talking about the paying as much as these other teams. Any comments on that? Probably either one of you. I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's, I think Clemson is a team that has not always been great up front along the offensive line. I think that they are not the most physical group this year. They've also had a couple injuries, but the problem with Clemson is their best players aren't playing well. Like the defensive line has been a non-factor in a couple situations, and their veteran quarterback who started 1 million games turned the ball over. If he hadn't turned it over twice against Georgia Tech, they win the game. Last week, they got torched over the top against a hot quarterback. Guess what? It happens. It happens. Gave a couple big plays. Pass rush non-existent. And they were getting beat up themselves by their own offensive line. So I think Clemson is a unique circumstance. I don't think there's a lot of comparables there, if you want me to be completely honest, but I can see where people might try to draw the comparisons.
Anything else?
Coach, I want to get your thoughts before we run out of time. Quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to get your thoughts on Bruce retiring, Stephen taking over. Obviously, you've known that program well. You've been close to people around it and them. What are your thoughts on first just Bruce's career and then his son Stephen taking over at Auburn?
Well, I think certainly Stephen he got out of it at the right time to give Stephen a chance to be successful because they have good players and he's coached them well. Both of them have. I was a little bit surprised since he made the statement that he was not going to get into politics. You wake up those mornings and you kind of look at after a while, and you kind of look at the wall and say, "What do I do today?" Been down that road a little bit, and I was surprised, even though nobody else was but me. I texted him that night late, and I said to him, "I hate to see." I said, "I never competed against you myself personally with our team, but I always had a great deal of respect. I've known him somewhat through Jimmy Rain, through him himself. But I just said it's surprising me." I said, in my life, at the end of the sentence, I said, "In my life, I'm in the last half of 9 for 2 out." And he texted me back and he said, "Wimp, I'm in the last half of the 7th with 2 outs." So I thought it was, he's 65 years of age and getting towards the end. And I would just guess, and nobody told me this. I'm guessing he's going to do some TV. I don't know that. Nobody said that. I don't, and he's got plenty of money. I just think when you've been that busy that long, that you have something else in mind that you could do. I mean, you maybe have grandkids that he does, and you want to do all that kind of stuff. That'll wear you out after a while. I got a bunch of them, but it's to answer your question, it surprised me some when he made the statement that he wasn't getting into politics. But I think he's a terrific coach. Did a great job there. Sonny did a good job when he was there. Sonny Smith did. He was terrific as well. And to get to the Final Fours the way he has is really, it's very, very difficult to get to the Final Fours. It's hard to get in the NCAA tournament back in our day, back in my day, and then it's a little bit easier now. But it's hard hard to move on. And my answer to your question is I hate to see him get out on it. He's good for basketball, but Sunday his son will have a great opportunity to do something.
You give him a good, very good, decent shot at being successful after his father?
I think it's hard, difficult. When you follow success, and I did that, I followed success. I wanted to say I was part of it, and I think I was, but I followed it. Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult. I really do. I think you get to the point as you go through this particular year, you've got players and you've coached them, and so you're in pretty decent shape. Now your ability to recruit them and your ability to get a good staff. Your staff is so darn important, and you know who you're going to get, or you're going to keep the people you have, or who you're going to hire. You already know. This thing's been going on for some time behind the scenes. But I would say that, yeah, he can be successful. He's always going to be, he never got to the Final Four if he doesn't get there. His daddy was much better. The comparison's always going to be there. And but I think he has a chance to be successful. Yes, I do. So it's not going to be easy.
Sure.
But he's probably done a lot of the recruiting for his dad. They looked at a lot of players and tried to decide on who fits their team and their program, and he had probably a big hand in that. So I think he'll do fine.
We always appreciate your time, Coach. We know each and every week you're brought to us by Coke and Piggly Wiggly.
Well, Coke and Piggly Wiggly are good people. In fact, Stanley Fasiglio, who's a big part of Piggly Wiggly, and I are having lunch today in Birmingham. So Piggly Wiggly is outstanding. Something like 9 stores in the Birmingham area. And you walk in there, you'll come out with a smile on your face. They'll have everything in the world you want, from vegetables to good meats. And cocoa is right in there with them, and cocoa has been a great product for hundreds of years. And I appreciate you two guys having me on. I appreciate Coke and Piggly Wiggly having me on, and I look forward to talking to you each and every week. I don't know much about football, but I act like I do. So
no, we enjoy talking to you, Coach. Thanks for the time today.
All right. Thank you.
All right, there you go. The Coach Wimp Sanderson joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Thanks to Coke and Piggly Wiggly each and every week. A couple other games coming up this weekend. There's one, we haven't even really gotten into Mississippi State and Tennessee, Greg. And these are two undefeated teams facing off. It's nationally not going to get a lot of the discussion that some of these other games are, but one that when you look at meaning and you look at kind of what it could do, specifically to maybe springboard Mississippi State if they can find a way to win this one. I said two undefeated teams. Tennessee's 3-1. Mississippi State's 4-0, but a 15th ranked Tennessee that's 3-1 could be a massive win for Mississippi State if they can find a way to pull it off. Obviously, stylistically, you have some advantages because you see basically the same offense in practice every day. Not a lot of teams can say that. Not a lot of teams get that. The physicality, though, that Tennessee brings is where I think Mississippi State has got to find a way to get an answer for when they're on defense, or else I don't see a ton of stops.
Well, can they stop the run? Like, that's my big question. I mean, I think the biggest key here is stopping the run. You referenced the physicality for sure, and the reason why they're good running the football because they offer a lot of variety. I think their running game is far more complex than people realize. And I also think they do a really, really good job of making life very difficult for, pretty much everybody with how many gaps they can create in the run game. That includes quarterback run. That's a lot. They just have a lot of variety in the run game. And I'm not super confident in the ability of Mississippi State to stop the run after seeing that second half against Arizona State. I think that they kind of got pushed around a little bit, and that made it very difficult.
I don't think there's any doubt. It's one that we'll spend a little more time on. A couple national games we need to spend time on. We'll go back to talking Auburn and Texas A&M first with Billy Lucci on the other side. Before we do that, G-Mac, tell our listeners about Crocker Moving Services.
Well, they're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. And you can trust them in your home. They did your whole home packed up and move, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room. These guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. Website's CrockerMovingServices.com. That's CrockerMovingServices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
All right, when we come back, What does Billy Lucci think the key for A&M's success against Auburn, both on offense and defense, is going to be? We'll ask him right after this on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 9:18 right here on Jocks. Billy Lucci going to join us in just a moment to continue breaking down Auburn and Texas A&M. And there are some interesting matchups in this game, directions it could go, maybe how, why. First, I'll tell you about Game Day Men's Health. If your matchup with maybe food is going to be a little bit too difficult to manage, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you. Multiple weight loss programs there that can help you with, get you on, get you set, get you back to feeling good. If you're lacking energy, poor sleep, feeling on edge, could all be the effects of low testosterone. They can help you out with that too. Peptides in stock now at Game Day Men's Health. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com, schedule the free consultation, free PSA test, free testosterone test. They let you know where your baseline health is. Then they tell you the different ways they can help you. Get all the facts at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Now open in Trustville. It's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Sign up for that free consultation today and take advantage. Billy Lucci with us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Creator of TexAgs. Knows this program inside and out. Are people maybe too far ahead on Texas A&M right now? I understand the Notre Dame win was big. I get that. And I think some of the struggles maybe against, say, Utah State are being completely glossed over. where are you just kind of in your view of what this team is through the first couple of weeks?
Cole, I was going to make a joke, but you kept talking. I was like going to say, of course, you're going to say people are ahead, but I actually agree with you. I think this is a really good team, and I said it before during Utah State and UTSA. I felt like they were not coasting, but you could just tell they needed to play a real team. Especially by Utah State. If you're at that game, they could have cruise controlled it. I think Utah State had a big run to start the third quarter and then a late touchdown drive or two, and when the game was like 30-something to 7. But with that said, the only thing I saw that concerned me in that one, it was just a little stuff on defense. And I still think, I said before the game, if they beat Notre Dame, which I thought they could and maybe even would, that everyone was going to jump way up to the front of the line with this team that they had kind of flown under everyone's radar before the season. Because they're going to look at a win over Notre Dame, and they're going to say Notre Dame's better than this team on this A&M schedule, that team, this team, this team. This one's at home, win, and they're going to do that. And if you do that, all of a sudden A&M's an SEC title and playoff contender. I get that, and I thought that's what was going to happen. I just think here's what I'm going to say, give me another week and give everyone another week to determine A&M. And I said before the season, I thought if they beat Notre Dame, went through a bye week, and beat what I believe is I believed it before the season, I believe it more now, a really tough Auburn team. Not a great team, but a really tough team, a good team, a team that beat A&M last year. And I felt like if they could navigate a bye week and win this one on the front end of a homestand, it then goes Mississippi State and Florida, and then you've got Arkansas after that. I just felt like this Auburn game is the one to me, Cole, that makes me change my prediction on how the season goes. And I was at 9-3. If they win Saturday, I would jump to 10-2 and a playoff contender to go to Atlanta, because there's a lot to like about this team. I've still got questions about the defense. I thought they did a better job against the run, against a really good running team in Notre Dame. But, because I was afraid Notre Dame might gash them, like rip them apart. And A&M made a lot of good defensive plays and in run support against Love and Price. So that was encouraging. But then you saw some big gaps in pass coverage. So to me, my thing right now is if they can hold up against the Notre Dame run game, against a mobile quarterback like Arnold, and against Coleman and Singleton, especially Coleman, who ate them up last year, then I will feel like they've checked a lot of boxes, and especially if this offense can move and score against a DJ Durkin defense. If they can do more, I know Mateer had a broken hand, right? He also completed 16 of 17 to end the game, and he was throwing the ball well. We all watched it. If they can move the ball and score and do more damage to this Auburn defense than OU did, and do the same thing to Notre Dame, do more than Miami and Carson Beck did, then I'll believe they can do it against anyone on the schedule.
What I've been impressed with so far is how improved the receivers are as far as catch and run, explosive plays, speed, you name it, they got it. I think they're excellent at wide receiver. Are they what you thought they'd be? Are they ahead of schedule? How is that receiver room in your eyes?
They're exactly what I thought they'd be from seeing them in spring and fall camp. But, I didn't think they would combine for those two would combine for almost 300 receiving yards against Notre Dame. But what you see, like you said, the catch and run, the flair for the spectacular. And man, guys, when they got here, those dudes just kind of set a tone between those two and Le'Veon Moss that, like, we don't want you to tackle us. You know what I mean? And it's just that mentality. Last time I saw that, and I'm not saying they're these guys, but it was guys like Johnny, Mike, and Swope. Just when we catch the football, we're not going to let you tackle us. We're going to fight you for an extra yard. And I think that's kind of added to kind of the overall toughness of this offense that, you know, if they do have to line up and run it a lot, they can do that too with and I really am interested to see as the season goes on, and maybe this will be the first time we see this, is what do teams do to prevent those two guys from breaking a game open, particularly in terms of their safeties, and then what does that do for the A&M running game and Le'Veon Moss? So it's a really interesting tool set that Colin Klein's got, and I'm telling you guys, like, you know, Terry Bussey and Ashton Bethel-Roman was making as many plays as Craver and Mario and KC during camp. He just has, you know, gotten off to a quiet start. So I'd keep an eye on number 3 as well.
Billy Lucci joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Injury-wise, health-wise, where is this team right now?
They're actually in a really good place. You know, obviously Marcel was banged up. You know, he left the Utah State game, didn't come back, and then, you know, played well against Notre Dame, took some big hits in that one. So I think quarterback-wise, the bye week couldn't have come at a better time. I mean, that was like perfect timing for a QB. But other than that, it's really Scooby Williams would be the one to watch. Bryce Anderson's out as one. You know, he's a starting safety, but he's kind of a co-starter. They had 3, so I think depth at safety would be an issue until Bryce gets back. But the one to watch Saturday would be Scooby Williams, who sprained his ankle on the interception against Notre Dame, and he was listed last night as questionable. And I do think that'll be one that we're not really going to know unless whether he comes out with shoulder pads on or not on Saturday.
There's been progress made by Marcel Reed in my eyes. However, you still have the wildly inaccurate moments.
Yeah.
It's just like his misses are big, and it's kind of mind blowing, frankly. Because I do think he's got a nice release, good stroke with how it comes off his hand, but I don't know, just for whatever reason, it's just like, golly, like some of those misses are just wild. What do you attribute that to? And why is that continuously part of his game?
Well, I think first of all, you could answer that a lot better than me if you watch probably his mechanics and stuff, right? Like,
well, the mechanics are great. That's what I'm struggling with. Like, that's what I can't figure out.
Yeah, just from talking to people that knew him in high school, you know, they would say, you know, there wasn't anything real sophisticated about what they were doing offensively, and I think he got here like extremely, extremely raw. So, you know, I think he's just, Greg, to be honest with you, I think he's a work in progress as a passer with really good, like you said, when it looks good, it looks really, really good. And I think he's come a long way. And that's what I was trying to tell people throughout the offseason. Like, he's not going to be the finished, flawless product, but you could just watch him during the offseason and go, man, he's come so far from what we saw last season, even as a passer. And I think even more so just kind of understanding, like you said, and by the way, as you guys know, Craver and Concepcion will bail a quarterback out of some of those too. I mean, it's like Concepcion will go up about 12 feet in the air to catch one that sails, and then Craver's made a couple. I don't understand the guy's ability to catch a ball below his knees and a few inches behind him and keep running full speed across the field, but he's done that multiple times. If you go look at his touchdown against UTSA on a screen pass, there's no way a guy should be able to pluck that ball off the ground and keep stride enough to outrun 2 angles to the end zone, but he did it. So they're helping him out. But I think more so than anything, the biggest difference that you see in Marcel is just his understanding of it all, his understanding of the offense. He just looks confident in what he's doing. I think he showed, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I think he's shown better pocket presence than we saw last year. But like you said, he will sail some, and you just kind of, this is not the way you want it to be, but you kind of hope that he's sailing them where they're uncatchable, right? Not just for your own guys.
Absolutely.
Which he's done so far. He's thrown, he's thrown the one pick. He threw the one pick against Notre Dame on the fade. But that's the only interception through 3 games. So he's done a good job of protecting it. And Cole, the old line's done a great job of protecting him. And that you mentioned injuries. Ruben Fothery looks to be back this week, and he's the fifth-year tackle. He's been out all year, and Crownover and Zune are the starters, so you don't think it's that big a deal. But you know how important depth is. But they worked a lot this summer with Zune at center because that's his NFL position, and they worked a lot this camp with Zune at center and Crownover and Fothery at tackle. So that's something interesting to file away. Maybe not week one, but in the next few weeks is, if not getting what they want at center, they could go with that. If they're not getting what they want at guard, they can move Mark Naboo, who's a starting center, who's a guard by by nature. You can move that and move Zune to center. So it gives Adam Cushing and those guys a lot of flexibility and depth just to get him back.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any doubts. All right, so when you look at kind of how this one plays out, we gave our opinion on it earlier of where this game's sort of going to be decided. Where would you point to for A&M of what has to happen to win this football game?
Well, I think for A&M, they have to limit the big plays by the Auburn passing game. I mean, going into Notre Dame, my biggest concern was how do they hold up against that ground game. And I think they have to do something similar against the Auburn pass. And I know it hasn't been the most efficient and great, but if you give Jackson Arnold time, and Coleman's going to get open. If he didn't miss a couple of throws on Saturday, even with the BS calls there, they still would have won. So you got to assume he's going to make those throws. You can't just hope he continues to miss them. And I think Cam Coleman and Singleton are they're going to present a real problem. So it'll depend on they've got to limit. And I don't know if I don't think they're going to get 10 sacks. I think Auburn's going to adjust and make sure that there's not even the potential to get 10 sacks and how they do it. So I think tackling those two guys, on the short stuff and not letting them complete passes over their head like they did last year in Auburn, and like they had some clear busts against Notre Dame. And that's how Auburn wins that football game, in my opinion. I think on the other side of the ball for A&M, it's just going to be continue to establish that running game. They don't have to lean on it like they have in the past, but Notre Dame was a perfect example. That's a tough run defense, and Le'Veon with 20 carries for 81 yards and 3 short touchdowns. Continue to build on that, maybe even run with a little more effectiveness. But, as far as good as Craver and Concepcion have been and as dangerous as Marcel is, this offense should be built around the fact that they can run the football and they can run it hopefully against anyone. But I think this will be their toughest defensive test, in my opinion, more so than Notre Dame, which is crazy because everybody thinks about last year's Notre Dame defense. And look, I watched them physicality and size-wise and athletically. That's an SEC defense, but there were a lot of holes in it. And, A&M was able to exploit a lot of matchups to a degree that I don't think they'll be able to on Saturday. And DJ Durkin's a hell of a lot better D coordinator. And I know this, that he was here, and he was underrated when he was here, but he's a hell of a lot better defensive coordinator than David Ash, or his name, Chris Ash is. So I think it'll be a tougher test, the toughest one so far through 4 games for the A&M offense. So can they run the football? And if they can, I think they'll be fine offensively.
There you go. Billy, great stuff as always. Really appreciate the time, and enjoy the game this weekend. We'll catch up soon.
All right, Cole. See you, Greg.
See you, buddy.
There you go. Billy Lucci breaking down Auburn and Texas A&M. I go back and forth on this game, Greg. I can sit there and convince myself A&M convincing. I can sit there and convince myself Auburn convincing. And like you said, Marcel Reed, I feel like this picture of him being painted with a lot of the media of, close to perfection. And it's like I go back to that Notre Dame game, and there were some layups that were way off. And I don't feel like those are being discussed at all, because there were a couple of nice throws down the field, and some of those actually receivers made pretty good adjustments on. And then with Auburn, it's like we talked about with the offensive line, Greg. It's some of that stuff doesn't autocorrect. And if you don't get that cleaned up in a hurry, it's not going to take a really good A&M D-line. It's just going to take a D-line to play against you and cause problems.
Well, my big thing is like you realize right now, and I don't go like that much off the stats. Like I make my evaluation off the tape, and then I look up the stats. And if you look at his stat numbers, Marcel Reed's, he's 17% off target. That's 131st in college football. Like off target percentage of 17 is crazy. Like national average is like 8. So he does have big misses, and you just got to make sure that that pass rush can get home and force some of those big misses, because if he gets some catch and runs, like to be honest with you, I'm worried about Auburn's secondary covering these guys. Like I'm worried about the Auburn secondary getting these guys on the ground, because I think this wide receiver core is really dynamic and very fast and great with the ball in their hands and excellent after the catch. And if the coverage isn't tight, and all Marcel Reed has to do is just throw it 5-6 yards downfield on a hitch, tight turn, go, then he can do that all day. And he is better than last year, I think. But there's still a lot of room for growth there. So that would be my big concern.
The only other thing I was going to try to bring up with Billy, and I do agree with you, he's better than last year. I don't think there's any doubt. But just the direction of this offense, sort of. There are similar things that we talk about with LSU at play here. And I mean, it's essentially, what are you? Like, if I asked you, I was introducing you to somebody who knew very little about football, and I said, I need you to give a description for the bio of the Texas A&M offense, Greg. How would you describe it?
I think they're a catch and run team right now, like short passing attack turned explosives. I have not seen as much of a commitment to the run game this year, but I know it's in there.
That's why I struggle with it, I think.
Well, they're a short passing attack right now whose best attribute is quick passing game, catch and run. Like efficient passing attack with teetering on the verge of explosives, because every single time one of those receivers gets it, they can go the distance. So that's what I would be mindful of.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we can discuss that one a little bit more. We got others to discuss. We've got a bad box score of the day coming up. More college football talk next on Jocks. Going to go right back to college football in just a moment, but I'm throwing this one out. Complete curveball here. You guys just give me your – I saw this on Twitter, and I thought it was semi-fascinating, even though it's not something we often dive into. And I guess it depends on which team you are. Giannis for Wemby, straight up right now, would you do it?
No. Well, I would take Wemby.
You would trade Giannis for Wemby right
Yeah.
now if you were the Bucks.
How old is Giannis?
He appears to be 38, but he's probably like 24.
I think he's like 20 or 21.
Giannis is 21? No chance.
Like you said, Wemby.
No,
No,
he has how
Wemby's
old
young,
Giannis is.
No, Giannis is what, 29, 30?
He
Yeah, give me-
is
I'll take Wemby.
30.
30 years old.
31 in December.
If you
He's
trade,
ancient.
if you trade for a guy, do you become eligible for a max contract?
I think it goes down a notch, I
Because
think.
the Larry Bird rules, if you've been with that franchise the entire time,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get a super
So you,
max.
you don't
Yeah.
get, you can't give him that money. So I don't know. It's not like it matters that much. It's still like 300 guaranteed. Like you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, but to say, I mean, what's the difference between 330 and 300?
Well,
I mean, like,
Where do you live?
for life
Hashtag
after
taxes.
basketball, it's actually a lot. I don't. I thought that was interesting because
In this economy, whoo.
But I think part of that you look at. Okay, we'll trade for Wemby. Like, is your roster built around him to be able to make a deep playoff run right now? I'm not a Bucks insider, so I don't really feel like I can answer that question.
you
But
need
I
to
do
know
feel
these
like with
things.
Stephon Castle and company in San Antonio, you could get a good run in for the next maybe 2-3 years with Giannis. That's just an interesting thought. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because we don't know what the hell we're talking about when it comes to the NBA. So we'll probably go back and talk
Should
some more college
ask
football.
Coach.
What do you
about that.
mean? You don't know?
I mean, no. And I'm actually, it's one of the things I told the journalism kids yesterday. Don't be afraid to say you don't know. And when you're wrong, just eat it, own it, and move on. Because you're dancing around trying to convince people you weren't wrong is going to make it a lot worse. So do with that what you will, journo kids.
Journeyman. Journeyman. That's what you are. You're just a journeyman.
Journeys.
Journeys.
We did mention a little bit of that Tennessee Mississippi State game. This is what Josh Heupel said that he has seen year 2 in Mississippi State under Lebby.
In year 2, they've taken a big jump, and Coach Lebby and his staff have done a really good job. Guys that were there a year ago, you can see the development physically, technically, and understanding of their scheme. They brought in some transfers that are making a difference for them as well, and collectively as an entire football team in year 2. They have an understanding of how to win, and you put all that together, and that's why they're playing the way that they are, and it's a huge test for us.
Another thing we kind of haven't referenced, Greg, with Tennessee, that Mississippi State has to have an answer for is what Chris Brazzell is turning into. And I honestly don't like to say turning into because he wasn't this for them last year, but he was this like 2 years ago in a different uniform. Like when you watch his Tulane stuff, like he was that guy. And now it looks like he's that guy for Tennessee. And you can put all that emphasis on the run game that you want. You let him get loose, you're going to have real problems.
Huge problems. And I think he's a great player, really, really talented, and has some good length, like has a lot of things that you like. So I don't, but I got to be honest with you, like the corners were a huge question for me coming into the season. I haven't been as worried about them this year with Mississippi State. I think they've looked okay. Granted, part of that might have to do with the fact that they were getting home a lot against Arizona State, and that's a hard thing to kind of wrap your head around, is that Arizona State's wideouts didn't do much in the game, and Sam Leavitt didn't do much either. But I don't know about you, man. Like I'm a pretty big fan of what I've seen from them on the perimeter.
It's been
I don't
better.
know if I want them on one-on-ones, but they've definitely improved there significantly.
I don't like a lot of matchups in one-on-ones against this offense, specifically when they have pretty good receivers that can take advantage of you. You brought up something interesting, though, and I actually asked Blake Baker about this over the weekend. I feel like right now, what are we, 4 weeks in? I have seen more corner crashes hit, and I have seen more fullback bellies than I would have ever told you we were going to see in the entire season. Both. I saw like 5 teams just in the SEC run a fullback belly last week.
It has been a bunch.
I mean, it's just like they get in that little offset eye, and it's like, boop, they just hand it to them. I think Georgia ran one. I think Alabama's run one. I think maybe Oklahoma ran one.
I've seen Kentucky run it.
Kentucky definitely runs it. It's just like all over. Florida may have run one.
Florida,
like,
I think Florida's run it a couple times.
It's like, okay.
I think you're right.
We're back. Fullbacks.
How
Welcome
back
back
is
to the
belly?
party. Welcome back, fullback.
How back?
And then corner crash. I asked Blake Baker, I said, give me an honest answer. I said, max corner crashes that have ever connected for you in a single season. And he laughed and he said, probably 4. And I said, you've already hit what, 3? He's like, I know where you're going. And yeah, he goes, we usually don't, that is usually more of a threat than an actual connect. And he's like, we got pretty good batting average on those this year. Like, I don't know a team that's hit 4 in a year. And I think Georgia's already hit like 2 this year. That just doesn't happen a whole lot. Like
it's very rare.
People just
it's very
not
rare
looking,
for
or
it to
I don't know
be-
what the deal is.
Quarterbacks are continuously getting less and less aware, and continually relying more and more on athleticism, which is great. It's great to have, but because you're so athletic and feel like you can get out of a jam, and because you are capable of taking off, then you lose track of the little things that you need to do to kind of stay alive. Like I can tell you with 100% certainty, not one time did I ever get got on a corner cat in my career. Why? Because I was always mindful of where that safety was on the hash. Like if he's 3 yards off the hash, like my antenna's up. If that corner's looking straight at the receiver and he's pressed and that safety's 3 yards off the hash, I know he's coming. Like we've checked into things towards a corner cat. See a screen that we threw against Florida in the SEC championship game, and Ingram takes it 60 yards down the right sideline. Like it was a dead giveaway, and I just don't know if like the little things and the study is there as much because the guys are so gifted athletically to just get out of a jam.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting to watch that, and that goes back to some of the offensive line conversations we've been having this year too. Is just play football. Don't be so robotic in your one assignment that you've been instructed to do and ignore everything else because you're just worried about getting your 1+, and except other than helping the team win the play. And that's like I've told you guys, Brian Kelly and I talked about it for 30 minutes before the game. He's like, it just you tell guys one thing and that's all they're going to do. They can't figure out that there's a lot of other things happening around them. He's like, there's a lot of tunnel vision in college football right now, a lot. And it gets you in trouble at times. So we'll see if that can change for some of these teams that have had some issues with it when we come back on the other side. We'll give you a bad box score of the day as well next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. I did want to share one of the more incredible stories that I have seen this year in college football from Southeast Louisiana. We'll do that here in just a moment. First, I got to tell you about your CBD store. If you are looking for products to help you sleep, help you lose weight, they have them there. Arthritis for you and your pet, your CBD store can help. Largest brick-and-mortar CBD retail in the world, great customer service, and there are multiple ways that they can just help you have a better daily routine. Your CBD store has products for better focus throughout the course of the day, more energy throughout the course of the day. First company to have USDA-certified organic oil supplements. They got the new Lion's Mane in now. You can go check that out at your CBD store to give you better focus, energy throughout the course of the day. All right there, one of their 3 locations. Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver. Trustful just off 459, your CBD store where good health hits home. Defensive tackle for Southeast Louisiana that transferred in from the Naval Academy. I will give you one reason as to guess why he left the Naval Academy and transferred to Southeast Louisiana.
Because he couldn't keep weight on because the workouts were too extreme.
No, he's actually a big boy. Not a problem.
I have no idea.
Not a problem at all. Anybody else want to take a guess?
I have no clue.
Homesick.
Yeah, I was about to say homesick.
There's something that he failed at the Naval Academy, and
He can't swim.
correct.
Huh.
Well,
Ahmad Bradley, defensive tackle. And if you haven't met Frank Selfo, their head coach, he's incredible. Was telling us, he said, yeah, we were lucky to get him. He said, I looked at his transcripts when he came in, and he's like, hold on. You failed swimming? And his response was, twice.
Oof.
He said, why didn't you go to the Army?
I feel like Air Force was right there.
So I asked him on the field when they came out, I said, hey, man, you got to give me the swimming test guidelines. Like, what is the pass or fail here? He goes, man, how'd you know about that? And I was like, Coach Selfo told me. And he said, the part that I couldn't do is a fully clothed swim. So like in your uniform. Which I don't know what
trying to be special ops. Like, I mean, there are several.
It is the
positions
Navy,
in
Greg.
The Navy.
right.
There are several positions. You're not don't have to be a SEAL. You can still be in the Navy and not like have to swim fully clothed.
Nah.
Like, don't get me wrong.
But I feel like that's one of those.
It needs to be a
I
strength.
can see where it'd be beneficial.
Probably needs to be a strength. Which
Wasn't Maverick in the Navy?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, he flew a plane.
okay. Which leads me to our bad box score of the day. The Coast Guard. We've had them before.
Mariners.
Bulldogs.
Colonels?
Bears took on the Nichols State.
Warriors.
They're the Red Hawks.
They're not. They're the Bison. They're 0-3. They did score 60 points in the game. Nichols is 0-3. Coast Guard 2-1.
That's admirable. 60
right.
points.
Coast Guard snuck past Nichols, who put up 60 and lost by 32.
Okay.
What?
Oh, we're doing basketball now. Okay.
No,
What?
In a
that has
football
not started. 92-60 was your final score. So you can go bad box score getting blown out or bad box score not a single tackle in the game.
Yeah.
Here's your first downs in the game, 38 and 30. Rushing yards, 315 to 119. Passing yards, 580 to 398.
Wow.
There were 14 total touchdown passes in the game.
Let's go.
7 rushing touchdowns combined in the game.
That's impressive. For the offensive side.
There were 21 kickoffs in the game
Get a workout.
combined.
Everybody's getting
21.
work. Let's go.
More kickoffs in that game or in the Arkansas Notre Dame game this weekend?
I'll say this one. 21.
Barely.
21.
There were 2 punts combined in the game.
Just 2.
2 punts combined in the game, yes. We're back tomorrow, 3-man.